Hi friends, in this session we are going to discuss how to configure Apache web server on Linux operating system. So the web server in the IT world can be configured and can be accessed by using the protocols such as HTTPS and HTTP protocols. So these protocols can be implemented practically by using the applications. And there are some default applications in the Linux to configure these protocols. Like we are having Tux, Apache, AOL, and Sunman. So among these all, in today's session, we are going to see how to configure website by using the Apache web server because Apache is one of the most popular application in the IT world to configure the web server and across different variants of platform of the machines. Because Apache is a free source and open source application which is majorly used to configure the websites. So obviously when it comes to Linux, along with the operating system, Apache application inbuilt comes. So no need of having a license key to purchase. By default, it comes with the operating system. By using that, you can configure your own website. And also, a user can customize that application source code according to the requirement of the organization. Because Apache is not a free of cost application, but also it is an open source application. This is why in the IT world, the most of the live web servers are working on Apache application base. If you look at in the IT world, like generally the function of the web server, like say suppose you have connected with the internet and you want to access any website. So whenever you do any access of website in the URL, whenever you put a name, that how that process will takes place. That process first it will go to the DNS, then it will come back to your machine with IP, then from your machine it will go to the web server, and from the web server you will be getting the website. Something as follows, just have a look on this please. Like in this presentation, I am having a one DNS server, one web server, two clients, one from Linux and one from Windows. So one of my client from the network is trying to browse the website. So my client opened the web browser and giving the website name in the URL. So once my client put this request come to DNS. DNS checks in the database. In the database, if website name is present, it resolve that name into the web server IP address and give IP back to client. Then from the client, the request will come to web server, and then web server will find the web page. Okay, if the web page is found, then web server will give website to client, and the result client is able to access the website. So when we are doing the configuration of the web server, the configuration of the web server can be do either by using HTTP or by using HTTPS protocols. But there are some few following differences between HTTP and HTTPS. Like in HTTP, if you look at it transfer data in decrypted format. HTTPS transfer the data in encrypted format. HTTP less secure, HTTPS more secure, obviously, because it transfer data in encrypted format. It works default on 80 port HTTP. HTTPS works on 443 port. In HTTP configuration, no certificates keys are required to create. But in HTTPS configuration, certificates keys are required always to create. So the HTTPS works same like HTTP protocol, but over on SSL and TLS layers, secure socket layers, and Transport layer security layers. Transport layer security is a method for encrypting network communication. Whatever the communication is taking place in between various computers and systems, that would be always takes place in an encrypted format, which can be do by TLS layer and SSL layer, having the two main purposes why the HTTPS works on the SSL. The first purpose is it verifies that clients are talking directly to authorized server, understood, instead of unauthorized server, and it ensures that server can only read what client sent the data, and client can only read what server sent the data. There will be no third party involvement will be takes place in the HTTPS session because it works on SSL, and the configuration of HTTPS can be do based on the two keys, public key and private key. Whatever the handshaking process taking place between the server and client, it always takes place based on public key and private key, which has to configure its server by administrator. When it comes to Linux, in the Linux we are having a one default tool called make, make. By using the tool, we can easily do the configuration of these keys, and these both the keys having two different functions. Like client encrypt the session key using the public key from the server. Let us say you are having a two machines, one server as well one it is client. From the client you are trying to connect to server. So there is a need of having a connection to be established. So to establish that session, client encrypt the session key by using the public key from server, and once the session get established, again it send it to the server using a client key exchange message. There is a message concept takes place in between the server and client. That message technical term is client key exchange message. And once the server receive the information from the server client machine, the server required to read that information. But before server read that information, server need to decrypt that session key, and to decrypt that session key, the server use its own private key. And once the successful session established between the server and client, then the client and server both start encrypting and decrypting all the data sent over the connection using the session key. So once the session get established, once the server decrypt the packet, whatever received from the client machine, with respect to that, the session will get established between server and client. And then whatever the data server is sending to the client, okay, that and whatever the data client is sending to the server, in during the handshaking process, there is always frequent function taking place, like a encryption of data as well as decryption of data. And complete process will be always works based on that SSL session. So when we do the configuration of HTTP and HTTPS, generally what happens in HTTP case, at client machine, if user wants to access the website, just now as I shown, user can put the request HTTP colon double forward slashes www dot something website name, let us say zoomgroup.com. So client always make a request with HTTP. But if you are having a HTTPS configuration done at server machine, say suppose at client machine if client use the request http colon double forward slashes www dot zoomgroup.com, example a website name, then also the client can able to access the website by using the HTTP protocol itself. But if the session again it is working on the HTTP protocol base, means there will be no security to the session. though you configure HTTPS at server machine. What I mean to say, even after configuring HTTPS at server machine, still client can access the website by using HTTP, because at server machine you are configuring HTTP and HTTPS, but client is browsing the website by using what? HTTP only. So if the client browses the website by using HTTP, then data can be transferred in decrypted format, not in encrypted format. That is the reason there is a requirement also to configure redirection configuration at server machine. So redirection is nothing but, though the client make a request with HTTP, once that request come to server, no, with respect to the redirection configuration settings, that HTTP request will redirect automatically into HTTPS, and then the session between server and client will be takes place on SSL, and the result data in between server and client can be transferred in a encrypted format. Just have a look on this. Here we are having a one web server, and also we are having a one web browser. Web browser nothing but a web browser client. So my client make a request with HTTP. So request when it comes to server. So client make a request with what? Made a request with HTTP. HTTP works on which port number? 80. But once that client request reach to server, no, at server machine, administrator also done the redirecting configuration. With respect to that, HTTP redirected into where? HTTPS, and the result in between server and client, session established on 443 port, nothing but on SSL layer. Once the session established, then server will provide the certificate. Understood? Server will provide the certificate, and after that, in between server and client, communication start, and then whatever the data client send to server and server send to client, it will be worked based on the encrypted format. To configure this in the Linux, we are having this applications requirement like packages, HTTPD. Okay, one more is mod underscore SSL. Then port numbers we are having 443. Okay, there are two configuration files. One it is etc httpd conf httpd.conf. One more it is httpd conf.d/ssl.conf. And to update this configuration, there is a requirement of updating the service called httpd. And the background process of httpd itself is httpd. So when we are doing the configuration of the web server, when we are doing the configuration of the web server, first we need to configure the HTTP. Then we need to go ahead with HTTPS. And later we can also do redirecting. So to configure HTTPD, there is a requirement of installing HTTPD application. And if you want to configure HTTPS, then we need to install also mod underscore SSL. Okay, just have a look on this. We'll go ahead with this configuration now. So in this machine, we will see how to do this configuration. So before you proceed with the configuration, first verify the IP address. So we are having IP address called 192.168.0.200. Okay, and install the application. Let me install the application make. So make application is already there, and also verify the application. You can say yum list httpd and mod underscore ssl yum list to verify the applications. So these are all these applications are already installed. It is saying installed applications. So if the applications are installed, simply you can go to the configuration file. So here we are having a HTTPD configuration file is conf httpd.conf. This is the configuration file of HTTPD. Open this file, just go to the last paragraph, last line, end of the page by using Shift G. Okay, and end of the page you have to write some parameters manually here in order to host the website. So here I'm writing the parameter, something say virtual host. Okay, and here I'm writing star and 80. 80 is a default port and star is any IP address. By default it takes your default LAN card IP address. Whatever the NIC card IP address is configured, based on that it will work out. And you have to suggest one server name. It is case sensitive script, so wherever I am using the capital letters, small letters, you have to use the same. And here we have to specify the website name, server name zoomgroup.com. Okay, and here you can write server admin as well. So admin is root, and root website name is zoomgroup.com. And document root we have to mention, this is nothing but the directory name. So we want to configure the website in the default directory. The default directory is /var/www/html. Then we are having directory index. Directory index is nothing but this is we have to specify the file name. So here I am giving the file name, then directory virtual host. Okay, like this we have to do this. These are the parameters we have to write, isn't it? So server admin root, server name, document root, directory index. Just come out of this. That's it. Then just go to the var and create a one HTML page. And here I am just creating HTML page. What name you gave there, the same name you have to use here. So here I am using the name, for example, HTML, okay, H1, and here I am using something HTML body bg color is equals to something say yellow. Okay, and here I am writing some script inside something. I am writing here www.zoomgroup.com, www.zoomgroup.com, like this way. And we can say here center. Okay, and here I am writing something murky. In this here I am writing some information. This website, this is this website is hosted by Linux administrator. Then here we have to write murky, and then we have to close it body. Okay, come out of this. Then systemctl restart httpd. So with this we had done the configuration of httpd. If you want to access from the client machine, you can even access, but we want to configure this on HTTPS base, so you can even find out the working port number. Okay, you can put here, you can see the port number here, 80 port number it is working. Understood all of you? So what we have to do now here is we have to just configure the HTTPS as well. So to configure HTTPS, you need to just go to the default location. Okay, the default location we have to go to create the certificates. And here you have to use the certificate command make, and any name you can put. Something I am writing the name based on my website name. Extension should be CRT, certificates. It will ask certificate, you can give the certificate here. Any certificate you can put. Key you have to generate. Okay, and you can write your code, something. Okay, and here I am writing the host name and email address. For example, here I am writing, right? So with this we have done the configuration of the keys. So here we have created zoom group.crt and zoom group.key. So zoom group.crt is nothing but it is a public key, and zoom group.key is nothing but what? Private key. So what to do here? Just you have to copy this, right? Move this to private directory. Private key should present in private directory. Public key should present in public directory, like this. Okay, and then you have to open the SSL file. So SSL file is this. You can just go ahead with this, right? And after this, in this file you have to just do the following changes. So if you scroll it down, you will be finding the like keys name. So we have to specify the key name as per the creation. So just now we created the two keys. In 100 line you have to just specify. In the place of this I am just giving the name zoom group. Okay, and in the place of this localhost, in the place of localhost I am giving zoom group. That's it. Then go to last paragraph, and here you have to add some new lines, same like whatever we did in the HTTP configuration. Same thing has to do. Server admin. Who is a server admin of Linux? Root. You can write the root name and the website name. Then you can say document root, same parameters. Okay, then you can say server name. Here you need also to add the port number 443, like this. Then here you have to say directory index. So here I am writing zoomgroup.html. Okay, like this the parameters you have to write. Just come out of this. So we have done the configuration of HTTP, and also we have done the configuration of what? HTTPS. Now we need to do the configuration of redirecting. Understood? So in the case of redirecting, just we have to go ahead with the HTTP configuration file. Open this HTTP configuration file and just go ahead to the last line, and at second last line just write down this entry. Add this following parameter redirect. Okay, and you can say permanent https colon double forward slashes www.zoomgroup.com and the port number, like this way you have to add. So this configuration makes redirecting automatic client request from HTTP to HTTPS. Come out of this. Now here if you look at in the var log HTTPD, here you will be having the default log records. So if the user is browsing the website by using HTTP protocol with HTTP request, those records will be stored in this file. If the user is browsing the website by using HTTPS, then those records will be stored in this. Okay, so just after doing this, restart the service. So to restart, we have to use restart HTTPD. So here we have to enter the phrase entered. Now after this, now to access this from the client machine, you can go to this client machine here, and in the client machine you can access this. Okay, if you want this website, if you are having a DNS working, you can also add this website into the DNS. See, in this machine already I'm having a DNS working, so just here I'm going to the forward lookup zone file of DNS. Okay, and in this file there is a forward lookup zone file name zoom.for, and here I'm just adding my website entry. So with this record, my client can access this website with name instead of an IP address. So my client is giving www dot, and the IP address of this is what here. The IP address of this is 200, and here I'm having www. Okay, come out of this systemctl name d restart the DNS service. Then to access this in the client machine, I am in client machine now. Okay, there are three machines I am using, one for DNS, one for web server, and one for client. In the client machine, just we need to give the DNS, and after that from the client machine you open the web browser. So to open the web browser I can use the command something like Firefox. The command I can use like what here, Firefox. In the Linux we are having a default web browser, like unlike in the Windows we are having a what, Internet Explorer. So by using this we can go ahead. Let me open the web browser in this machine. So in the client machine, we can use www.zoomgroup.com. So we got this answer. You have to just say I understood. Okay. And here add exceptions, confirm, get. See, automatically the request converted with what? HTTPS. The reason why I'm showing you the redirecting concept here is some people may having a habit of just using control enter after just writing the domain, like say Yahoo, then control enter. So that request by default forward to the server based on HTTP, not based on HTTPS. So even though if the client is doing like that, when it is reached to server, server should automatically redirect to the HTTPS. Okay. Hope you followed the session and this presentation may help you to implement the web server setup in your network environment. Thank you. Have a nice day.